Well, as Women's Month continues, we try and make it possible that we celebrate women, and every year Design Indaba selects talented young creatives from across the country to participate in Emerging Creatives program. More and more young South African young designers ply their trade to make an impact in the industry. So many of them are doing their best to make an impression despite the challenges that fashion designers are experiencing in South Africa. Numerous firms in the clothing and textile industries had to reduce their labor, outsource part of their production, or close down. We have seen this through the winding down of some chain stores countrywide, and on the other hand, cheap imports continue to flood the market, edging out the local clothing industry and leaving fashion designers in limbo. But young designers are not giving up. Today, we have Mercia Ramagaga, who is a young fashion designer, to tell us about her experience. Welcome to our program.
Thank you, Colin.
How did you become a fashion designer, and tell us how you got in the industry?
I studied fashion designing. I've got a diploma in clothing design and technology. I started very easy. I wouldn't even say easy per se, because I didn't look for funding, since it's a difficult thing to get when you start business. But when I completed my studies, I just went around and showed people that were close by my work that I did from the graduation fashion show, that this is what I can do. I'm qualified now, and then I can take your orders. Could you please place an order, and then we'll take it from there. And that's exactly what happened. I started by just taking orders from people, asked them 50% deposit, and then I started, and then I grew.
But as a young
bit
person,
by bit.
What challenges did you come across? I mean, we know that the fashion industry has serious problems regarding cheap imports, the issue of pricing, and South Africans preferring to have international brands. So you were still young, inexperienced. What did you experience then, the first time when you started business?
No, when I started business, at that time we didn't have a lot of counterfeits coming in from China to South Africa. It was a bit different as compared to now. So when I started, actually, I wasn't even that much exposed to the industry, and I didn't anticipate a lot of problems. So I was coming to it with a blank head. So when I got into the industry, I had no fears. I just thought that I'm going to do what I do best, and I'm going to get to it. Only to realize that there are more challenges in the industry than I actually thought, because firstly, when you get into the industry, it's all about making money, it's all about building your brand, it's all about getting contract of supplying any stores that you could.
Which I wanted to ask you about, your relationship with distributors and chain stores, because they are dominated by brands that are done by well-established designers.
Yes, I think that's the challenge that we have at this point in time, that we either have the chain stores that are sourcing from China, or we have chain stores that are selling big brands that are already household brands. You know, for us it's a bit of a challenge, but now it's changing a little bit in South Africa now, that we have stores such as YDE, that is under Truworths, where we have only South African designers, and there are rules that says the product must be produced in South Africa. So that at least gives South African designers an opportunity to get there.
What is the trend now? Are South Africans' attitudes towards local brands changing? Because, you know, they prefer LV, CG, Dolce & Gabbana, and the likes. But when you come to Mercia, they will say, who's this one? Oh, she's a local designer. She thinks she has arrived.
Yes, I think we have a challenge that the people that we would wish that you can buy our brands are those who afford, and those who afford would want to wear those household brands, the LVs and the Gucci's and the Dolce & Gabbanas, you know, and that's where the challenge is, because those who don't afford, then they come to us. But design it's a very expensive, you know, trade. You know, people must understand that it's a luxury. It's not like a basic need, you understand? So we really also need people who can afford our brands. But then those who afford, they prefer the big brands, you know, the ones that we wish could be our clients. So the only way is to find yourself as a designer, find your way around the market, how you can make it for yourself. You know?
Yeah, as we're winding down Women's Month, as a young South African designer, what is your wish for the industry as we wrap up?
I just wish there could be laws. The people up there, they must just make laws, or they must just amend certain policies for all these retail stores that operate in South Africa. It must say, like for instance, H&M, they must say, look, if you are to open this particular store in South Africa, you must have at least 10% of African designers on the rail. You know, it must just be standard like that everywhere. That's the only way we can get an opportunity as South African designers, because as we speak right now, it's all Chinese imports everywhere you go, and it's really difficult for us because the market is penetrated to the core. We don't even have a space anyway, so we have to always try to squeeze ourselves there and there, you know, which makes it very difficult for us.
Well, Mercia, all the best. Thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you very much, Colin.